lordy. Should we set up? Should be set up. Do I have to enable it some other way? Hi. How you doing, Fox? Trying to see how's everything looking. So far, it looks pretty good. I mean, I need. Oh, there we go. Oh, I am streaming very high quality. In on a vertical. Are either of you two watching on your phone, like on the app? I am drinking, by the way. It may or may not be. Hi, welcome in, Azazel. It may or may not be Monster that I'm drinking, but it looks weird on the phone. What do you mean? I made it a vertical preview. I made a vertical preview so that you guys can. Why can't I move? Do you not like it? I mean, as you said, it looks weird. What do you mean? Like, yeah, I worked really hard last night to set it up, so I don't know. Do you not like it? Oh yeah, well, like most of the time, like I thought that like it'd be cool because most of the time you're probably seeing it really small. But if you turn your phone horizontal, it looks normal again, or it should. Oh, well that's good. That's good that it's hazard reduction burn instead of just burning things for the hell of it. Yeah. I am going to go back to my base really quick. So I've been working like really hard these past couple days in this game. It's really cool, actually. I like that. Oh, do you? I'm glad. Yay, that makes me happy. So it should go back to normal if it's in horizontal, yeah. And then it also, but it looks okay for like those that are just looking at it vertical, maybe. Because that's the idea. Is that like, because I know that, I've had the option for a long time. Does it? Oh, I'm really happy. My return, if you remember. Well, I mean, I'm a pretty forgettable person, so yeah, I probably will never see you again. I just started streaming, so I'm gonna be here for a minute. I am trying to free build something because basically I've built this base right here, which is like a highly modified version of something I found online, like a tutorial thing that I did. I don't want that. I want my own base. I want one that can be like, where people are like, oh, this is the Aiko base, you know, where I learned how to build this base from Aiko or whatever. I don't know. One of the people are like, oh, that's actually really cool. So what's the alcohol situation? I got Monster. Oh, you're not talking to me. Talking to. Oh, you are talking to me. I have no alcohol. I could. I live within walking distance to like 2 liquor stores. There's a lot of liquor stores here in this country. I want to show you guys what I made. It's really cool. Okay. First off, Palworld had a update. Oh no, I have monster. Okay, so I worked really hard these past couple days. And I had two really cool things. This is one. This is Sugar. She has Demon God, Lucky, and Diamond Body, and she's 4 stars. This is Cirrus. She has Sky Strider, Light-Footed, Swift, and Eternal Engine. I also have a Yakumo. I have a few Yakumos, actually. Where are they at? This is Crafting Mama, who has remarkable craftsmanship. This is something I'm giving to Tristan. This is Eternally Swift, who has Swift and Eternal Engine, and this is Diamond Goddess, who has Diamond Body and Demon God. God damn it. Why did I gotta feed them? Okay. Then, those I can use to try and catch a wild Celine, because I can't, like, breed stats onto her from another thing. So, so far I've gotten the Eternal Engine one, and I've got Vampiric and Eternal Engine, which is weird, but, you know, whatever. I'm also trying to figure out how to stream on TikTok. To do a restream thing, but it's not restream. It's Atrium multi-stream. By the way, this is what this can do. Oh, fuck. It's Atrium multi-stream. And, that I will be using to try to restream on TikTok, but I need a restream key. I need a stream key for it. Because they have their own go live thing. And I'm like, not gonna do that. So I'm gonna wait until... But the thing is like, I can get it if I sign up for... I can get a key if I sign up for like a... agency. Right? But an agency... Oh, hi Lucy. I'm good. Are you watching on mobile? I don't know. I forgot where I was going. Pals are starving. Are you usually watching on mobile? I need to know what everybody's opinions are of this. Yes, you are. How do you feel about it? What do you think? What are your opinions? I need to know. I've been online. Everybody's starving and I wasn't paying attention because I was setting up this shit. If you say it looks normal, I'm going to punch you in the head. You're watching classic mode? I see. What does that mean? Like horizontal? Try watching it vertical. You just want to be punched in the head. No, swap to the vertical mode. Do it. Do it. Do it! That's fine. It is 9:23 a.m. for me. I'm awake in the morning. You sensed I was streaming. You woke up at midnight and were like, yeah, she's awake. So you came here. Well. So you didn't get the like go live notification? Or you did? God. Where the fuck is he? Where is this dumbass? If you're hungry, go fucking eat. Where are you? Oh my Twitch had an update now. How I feel about it. What do you mean? I don't think Twitch had an update. I think I did that. I think I set up a vertical stream so that you guys could see me see me like this. If you don't like it, you can turn your phone horizontal. I just know that some people like their phones to be vertical and watch streams, and I wanted to fill up the whole thing. Look at you. Like, I do kind of want to get feedback from it, so is there like a poll I could do that's like all day? Like an all day poll? New poll. Duration. No, not 10 minutes. 10 minutes is not long enough. Now I have to... It's like classic mode, but both is good. Oh, you like classic mode, but both is good. It's your fault that I can't see the chat properly. No, yeah, you can't see chat properly. You can't see chat at all. If you rotate your phone, you should be able to see it fine. Because it's normal on horizontal mode. It's just not normal on... In fact, you should be able to see it easier. But you don't want to, you fuck. I guess secretly gives me drugs, so I'll stay around and usually scratch his neck. Oh, please. If I was giving you drugs, you'd be here more often. Isn't that right, Jessie?
Yep.
I'm giving her drugs. You see rainbows? I keep running back and forth. Okay, I think I have 2 depressed and 1 weak. No, this is not where I'm trying to look. I keep forgetting what I was like trying to do. I have depressed pals. Which honestly same. I'm kidding, I'm not depressed, I'm good. But I have been working really hard these past couple days to do things, and I wanted to show you guys because it's cool. I don't know if I need this or the other thing. I think it's just sick or a sprain. Actually, I think it's a weekend. Fuck. Like your daily delivery, please. You're welcome. That should be right there in the mail. I read that really wrong. I read it as like Dale delivery. I was like, who the fuck is Dale? Let's give these guys drugs. Have your drugs. Yep. Here, you have your drugs too. Should I be asleep? Yes, you should. Oh, probably. I'm streaming because I want to and I'm awake. I actually woke up at midnight. Oh, I woke up a little bit before midnight. And then I changed everything on my stream stuff. I spent 3 hours trying to... I spent 3 hours... Where the fuck is this guy? I spent 3 hours trying to set up this vertical scene thingy. It took me fucking forever. So, if you don't like it, it's fucking tough titties, bruh. I'm also trying to set up, good lord. There you go. Yeah, so I was working really hard on it. I'm gonna try streaming on... Then I tried to set up restreaming on TikTok. Tristan told me he uses a multi-stream via, Stream Elements, so I installed that, and then that broke fucking everything, and I was so like, oh, I hate this so much. And then I found out the Atrium, the one I'm using for, or Atom, the thing I'm using for the vertical scene, is actually also has multi-streaming, and I went to go use that to multi-stream on TikTok, but I don't have I wound up getting like the, oh, here's your pass or whatever to stream on TikTok for 14 days or whatever. They just want to make sure that I'm actually going to do it. Oh, thank you, appreciate it. Tristan and I were like trying to differentiate our channels. It's basically the same profile picture we had before the stream, but it's like more zoomed into my face, and Tristan's is the opposite one where it's more zoomed into his face, because we noticed that it was like really difficult to differentiate between whose chat you guys were chatting in. And it was actually kind of nice when we had the wonky ones, because it was like, well, it was like I can at least tell who's chatting where, because normally I don't know. If we had the both the same profile picture, can't tell. Rando, how you doing? I'm really gonna be looking forward to seeing how many people.
Brando_Spuds said time for positivity 2.0. Even when the days feel difficult and you still get up, I am so fucking proud of you. Didn't do much, don't fucking care. Proud? DID a lot, proud. Keep kicking all the ass, you absolute unit of a human being.
I love that. I love all the aggressive positivity. It brings me so much joy. You don't even know. That's why, oh god, sorry. Aggressive positivity is amazing. I will always love that. However, I will say I did a lot. I've been busy. Okay. And I had to take down all the subathon stuff. Reset everything else up. I had to set up new scenes for vertical stuff. What are you doing over here? Oh, you're resting. I see. Never mind. You're allowed to do that. Look at my sheep. Look at my sheep. Also, did you guys see what Maya made me? Did you guys see what Maya made me? Scroll into the about section. Go to the about section of the Twitch page. Go look at it. Go look at it. It's so cool. Officer Brevis, I'm gonna kick you in the taint. That's because I spent probably 4 hours at the end of the last stream I did just catching woolly pops. And I talked to her about it, and she's like, "Oh, that sounds great." But did you see that there's 2 of them? They both look great. I turned him into a gift too. I'll show you. Well, no, I won't, because I don't fucking know what the hell I'm doing. If I add it to one, I have to add it to another, and I just honestly can't be fucked. I can't be fucked. Because I don't know what everybody's watching from. I'll probably do it for like niche things. But yeah, later when Tristan gets up, we're going to be going over the subathon things. Did everybody start filling in? Ooh, actually I should put the link for the subathon, not subathon thing. Yeah, I guess the subathon rewards. Send this message. Manually unpinned or end of stream. Yeah, there we go. I should probably mention that that's like... I got signed out of fucking everything, dude. I restarted my computer and updated fucking Chrome, and it was like, I'm just gonna sign you out of everything. And it did. Like a bitch. I should probably specify what that is so people don't think that I'm just getting them to take a random survey. Let's see. Subathon rewards survey. There we go. There you go. That way, because I need to know. I need to know what it is you guys want. Some of you guys aren't in the Discord. Some of you guys aren't on my Twitter. Some of you guys aren't in blah blah blah. Some of you guys aren't blah blah blah. You know what? I really do want to restream on TikTok. Because I think that we could find some success there. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to work and all that, but Tristan's going to be handling the Twitch and YouTube side of things, and I can handle the Twitch and TikTok side of things. We really do want to make this a viable career, and spreading out our... diversifying, that's the word I'm looking for. Diversifying our portfolio is going to help a lot with that. Also, I want, whenever he gets up too, for him to, for us to go over like cheesy couple poses to find for VGen. But he's sleeping. He was up all night, like, helping me out. And then he took his meds, and then now he's like fucking tired. Also, I'm level 41, and we learned something. Okay, so we learned that the halfway point, experience-wise, from the halfway point to level 80 is level 65. Nice. So, we're not even halfway to max level yet, which is fabulous. We fucking love it. We're having a blast. 69, my bad. Okay. He's listening to me. He's being sneaky. You changed it back? You changed what back? What did you change back? I'm confused. Oh, I see. I'm sorry that you don't like it. I am trying, like, to, apparently, according to... Oh, God. Why do I trust that? Okay. Okay. I don't even know what that is. Okay. Whatever. You forgot to do it? You can do it now. There's no time. Like I said, there's no time limit. There is a time limit, but, like, the time limit's like a couple weeks. No, I forgot what was here. Never mind, my bad. I was like, oh, why haven't I done this yet? I'm so dumb. That's what happens when I'm not thinking. You can do it now. But I'm sorry that you don't like the vertical stream. You can keep it horizontal if that's the way you prefer it. Or I guess what Lucy said, classic mode or something. But some people might actually like the way it looks in vertical mode. I'm just trying to expand reach. Like, I know, for example, I don't really necessarily like I'll watch TikTok on my phone or something like that because it like takes up the whole screen. But when it comes to watching like a video, a horizontal video on a vertical screen, it's very small and kind of annoying for me. So I thought it might be that way for other people. I understand that you guys are used to it though. So that's probably why you guys prefer it the other way. That's just the way you've always watched it. And you guys aren't exactly new people. I am looking forward to seeing if there's anybody who's like, oh, I really like this theme. This is great. This is so much better. Maybe. We'll see. What I want to do today is I want to go and I want to try building something that is uniquely mine. This is close-ish. See, I have a lot of things that I like about bases. One, I like maximizing space. Like using as much of the inside of the circle as possible. I know some people don't. I like using as much of the circle as possible. I also like the circle. Yeah. I also like one of the things I need to be better about is the expedition station, because I'm actually shit about remembering it, and it's also really hard to build around it. So I want to try and find something, like find a build that makes that look nice. Know what I mean? Basically just going to be free building today and chatting with you guys. Until Tristan gets here. But there's no rush for Tristan to get here. He can enjoy his sleep, she said to the wind. Yeah. How you doing? I was talking about you last night. It was like just past midnight, and we were filling out, census, because apparently they forgot to do that. And I was like, you guys are going to prison. And they said, you're going to go to prison too. I said, no, I can't go back. I won't let them take me. That's funny. And anyways, that's how I learned that Tristan is 1/4 Scottish. And so is Nat. I had no idea. Weirdly, it just never came up. Let's see what we're building and where. Does the quiz? I don't want to figure out spelling show names. No, it's anonymous. Is it really 1/4 though? I mean, your mom said that her dad was from Scotland. From Scotland. Why? I mean, they could have been Americans that moved to Scotland. I guess. Maybe you're 1/4 American. I'm like now sitting here concerned about that comment. What do you mean? Is it really 1/4 though? Also, why is everybody so worried about if it shows names or not? It doesn't. But I would like you guys to not be inappropriate with it, knowing that it's anonymous. I do know that Lucy wrote fart, and that amuses me. Mostly because not a lot of people filled it out yet. Done? Okay. Just because it's anonymous doesn't mean I can't know who did it, by the way. How'd you know it was you? Because not many people have filled it out yet. I was looking at it earlier today, and then I was like, oh, what's the new one? Wow. No way. One of those suggestions is like hella cute. Okay, look. I'm gonna say fart is really good, but for very niche, because we were talking about making a really, really expensive redeem that is just incredibly long fart. But it has to be like really expensive because it'll take up a lot of time. It'll just be a long fart. It was because I mean it was funny. That's why I was thinking it before, and I was like, yeah, that'd be fucking great. It's so stupid but wonderful. I'm trying to figure out where I want to build this thing. It's just test building, you know? Oh, is this where I put things? I need a place that is bigger than the circle. Hi, Jessie. I see you. So I need a place that's bigger than the circle, but not like massive, you know? It doesn't have to be massive. It can be. I also kind of want it to be an aesthetic area too, you know? You guys like my fang lip? Look at this shit. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. The first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yay. What just happened? That's shit. I made this mount because I wanted somewhere a really nice mount. I think I should sleep now. I'm at the tired point I have. Ooh, yes, yes. Go, 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 go. I have Winagri. I'm really used to... I'm really, like, I feel like I'm used to being able to read your stuff, but I don't think that says Winagri. Engaged, I feel like is less. I feel like engaged isn't it either. Unless, of course, you're so tired you got engaged. That's the one. I'm tired to the point I have energy. Oh, yeah, yeah. You did, you got engaged. Congratulations on your recent engagement. Oh. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm leaving anyways. You know, I could probably try out this area up here that I had marked down. Let me do that. Able to stay up long even after late nights because I'm a nocturnal now. I woke up at midnight and then I took my morning meds. And I was talking to Valerie at the time, my mother-in-law, and I said, I've started feeling better ever since I've started taking my morning meds again. My problem with my morning meds and my nighttime meds and everything in general has been that I never know when to take them. Because it's like I'll wake up at night and I'll be like, well, I can't take morning meds now. So it's really been fucking with everything. But I realized that if I just take my morning meds when I wake up, no matter what time it is, I'll feel much better about things, right? However, what does that mean? That means that I took my morning meds at midnight, right? And my morning meds include caffeine, vitamin D, Wellbutrin, all of which gives you energy, you know. My night meds are the scary ones. Actually, not scary so much. They put me to sleep. That is, I need to get better about taking. But the thing is like, I hate sleep so much that by the time I am falling asleep, I'm like dying falling asleep. Alright, I'm gonna try and build here because I liked this spot. I'm gonna see if it fits what I want it to fit. Okay. We want it to be bigger than the circle. Okay, it is. Oh, this is not good. Night, Jessie, love you. I'll try to move that way a little bit. I think I've gone that way. Oh, I like this. This area might be too small. Yeah, because look, it's going over the rock there. I'm trying to, I don't know what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do something. The area is too small. It sucks. Actually, hold on. Let me just place this with my teleport. No, I can bring it with me. I can still move. You got the goods? Is it drugs? Is the answer always drugs? Whee! Where's a good place to build? Where's big? Okay, this place I thought was pretty big, but apparently it's too small for what I'm looking for. Here, maybe? No, I think this is... Where is this? No, I used to build here. This would also be too small. This might be good. It might just be like, which server is this? This is my private, this is my and Tristan's private server. I'm gonna make sure this shit isn't lagging out. Is it lagging out? Well, I do have to check these things occasionally. Disable, and then vertical. Yeah, right, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, what's over here? Is this perfectly flat? I don't know if the univolts are gonna fuck with me. Also, this is lumpy. It's fine. It doesn't have to be perfectly flat. It just needs to be flat enough. I can destroy that rock. What do you mean? What is it? What is it interrupt? What is it? What is it overlapping, bruh? What is it overlapping with, bruh? What is it? What's it overlapping with, bruh? What's it overlapping with, bruh? What do you mean? Is this a boss spawn, maybe? No, what the fuck is this? Is it that chest? No. Did you know, fun fact, that people are now having their bases destroyed by meteors? I think this might work. It's not my favorite location. Like, I want to build in like the bamboo thicket area. I like the bamboo area. It's really pretty. Is this the bamboo area? I'm gonna go find out. Might repurpose that base. If it is. I don't know if it is. I almost said spot. Wow. It's probably technically, but like visually, no. Like visually, what I'm talking about is like over there where all the bamboo stuff is. You see? Okay. You want to see if I can jump across that? I don't think I can, but. Oh, never mind. I was wrong. So the hypothetical long fart held 9 points. Well, I was thinking 100,000 for those people who's already redeemed VIP and just want something to spend a lot of points on. This area down here isn't big enough. And it's about the same size as this over here. Actually, this might be big enough. Your best shot. Alright, let's see. Is it? No, this is way too small. Maybe too small. Yeah, it's way too small. Plus? No. Oh, man. Yeah. Oh my god. Oh! Also, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. They changed this. They changed it to this. Level 21. Hell yeah. Or level 23. So I don't have to wait till like level 80, whatever. I think it was like 50 something. So I could theoretically build in the water. That's not gonna work for what I'm trying to do. Damn it. My thing is I'm trying to completely keep in the circle, right? And the POW box, I'm trying to make it look nice within it, but also the POW box is ugly. Not POW box. The expedition station is ugly. So it has to be hidden. Ooh, honey, honey, you are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you. Did I see the Palworld update list? I did. I did. A couple things have changed that I've noticed. One, it doesn't seem like pals are vibrating as much, which is nice. The aquatic base building thing has lowered levels, which is great. They've reduced the cost on certain things, but like they significantly reduced the cost of the aquatic building thing, and they've somewhat reduced the cost of the power box thingy from like 200 power hits to 150 value hits. It looks like they increased the amount of crude oil that everything gives. Plus, you don't need to have a specific. You can just have either one of the crude oil extractors to advance the next level in your base, which is good because I didn't even think about that. Let's see. Oh, one of the things that was not mentioned in the patch notes is that they renamed Sky Marcher to Sky Strider. That sounds so much weirder. I liked Sky Marcher. I thought it sounded cool. That they did not mention, so I'm sure there's other things they've changed without mentioning it, or we'll just find out from playing the game, I guess. Did they change Demon God? Demon God, Lucky, and Diamond Body? Yeah, that's fine. I don't know where I want to build this thing. Ugh. So you think aesthetically? Or really? I'm gonna punch a baby. How you doing, Gary? Okay. Aesthetically, I want to build around here. Ah. Oh, I can't run right now because I'm heavy. I could run, I could jump. I'm pretty sure the only reason I'm as fast as I am right now is because you got the sprint. Lunaris. Oh. Wow. What we like to see. Get in the ball. Run away. What? I'm so confused. What do you mean? Oh, you challenged him to a Pokemon battle because he plays Pokemon or because his name's Gary? I don't think Lucifer's in. Oh, we were talking about Pokemon earlier today. Jesus Christ, we had lots of talks last night. Talking about Pokemon, talking about all sorts of shit. Man, Valerie was like, she has lots of opinions about Palworld. She was like, oh my gosh. She says that she thinks that Pokemon should have evolved with the age of the people, but what they did is they just want to cater to kids, and so they didn't actually age with their audience. He said she thinks that she's like this just looks like Pokemon for adults. I was like, yeah. She said Ash should have grown up, but he didn't. And basically, every single time he went to a new region, Pikachu was suddenly the weakest thing in the area. And it just started all over again. Same story, different area. Let us gamble again? That was so annoying. Let us gamble again? What do you mean, let us gamble again? Gamble. Let us gamble again. What do you mean? Are you talking about me? Pokemon. Oh, right. I forgot about that. Yeah. You know that, like, apparently you can't go to casinos in Australia in GTA 5. I'm wondering if that might have something to do with it. Not and like casinos being like illegal, like not legal in all countries, or gambling. Yeah, or gambling being like a legitimate issue. You know, in some games. Not games, but in real life, just gambling addiction being pretty high. Like there's some like lots of casinos in Australia, weirdly, but gambling addiction's a thing, and they don't want you to. I don't know. I feel like gaming, if they add a game or gambling to games, that it could be actually pretty healthy for a lot of Australians. Where is that base? It's up there. You don't have one. A gambling addiction? I don't either. I mean, not really. I don't have a gambling addiction, but that is because I intentionally avoid gambling because I know that it can turn into an addiction, and I have an addictive personality. Tristan, on the other hand, gamble no problem because he doesn't do it very often. He's not addicted to it, you know, whatever. I'm the kind of person I've spent hundreds of dollars on loot boxes in games. Can't afford that shit. I'm gonna read this. Yeah, just always hit jackpot and you don't have a problem. Castaway Journal Day 6. Something has bothered me since I've arrived here. Far off in the distance, I can see what looks like an enormous tree. Big enough to be the so-called world tree, spoken about in so many myths. Still, it's so large that no amount of fog would be enough to obscure it from view from the outside island. The only hypothesis I can come up with is something other than the fog enveloping this island prevents it from being seen by the outside world. In other words, some kind of mechanism must be preventing it from being seen from the outside. It seems like the mysterious powers of the palace have something to do with it. I really like the story that's happening. Gambling's only a problem for poor people. I'm sorry. There are people that like legitimately earn their living off gambling, and it's so risky. Some people can do really well on it. Tristan seems like a very low risk gambler for the most part, so he doesn't spend a lot of money on things that can have a high return. And then there's he has stocks, money in stocks, and stocks can go up or down, but they're the ones that have been picked out are like really low risk. That's different though, but it's similar. Like I could never get into like day trading. I feel like that's a stressful type of living. It's not lucrative though. How high I can jump with this bitch. Not here. Here? What was there? Here is where I used to build my bases. Stream discounted for a second. Discounted. Disconnected? That's weird. I'm gonna try. As you're using multi-stream, you must control vertical streaming outputs from the ATM multi-stream settings. But right now, it's... Okay, hold on. Settings. Stream. Additional canvas. My concern is that it is streaming in 1080p, which is fine, but that puts a lot of strain on my PC, which is why I was streaming at 720p. Gallia was made for you. I was made for loving you, baby. You were made for loving me. Oh my God. I've seen it. I saw it somewhere. It could be in here. Vertical canvas, main canvas, settings, position, shared, photo, settings. General. Vertical output. No. Is it? Main OBS settings, yes. Here. Recording. It's different than streaming. Use main OBS settings. Well, are you kidding me? Bullshit, I'm standing here in a rampaging fucking van worm spawns in front of me. Go fuck yourself. Are you kidding me? Wow. That is some absolute bullshit. Like, I feel like they shouldn't be able to spawn near me, like, while I'm just, you know, standing there. Okay. Settings. I'm trying to check out the settings menu because I want to make sure that the stream output for the vertical stream goes down. Because right now, the output's scaled on video for horizontal. I can do it really fast. It won't take any time at all. But I am trying to... I can do it really fast, but I want to find out where to do it before I end stream, you know? And be like, oh, hey, fuck off. Twitch enhanced broadcasting is controlling stuff. That's fine. I don't care about that. Recording. I'm just trying to find the setting. Where was it? What am I doing? What am I doing today? As I click the vertical settings. And it's like, no, actually, since you're using ATM multi-stream, you must control vertical streaming outputs from the ATM multi-stream settings. Changing output settings is disabled here. But like, the stuff's still here. And I go to the ATM stuff. ATM vertical is selected as extra canvas for multi-track video streaming. It is. Yes, I know that. That's why I'm using the same video settings.